This is the Barricade Extreme HD modular front bumper with included skid plate, and it is available for all 2007 to 2013 Silverado 1500s. Now, you should be checking out the Barricade for your Silverado if you'd like to go with an affordable off-road focused bumper that will deliver better approach angle, a burly steel construction along with the skid plate, and of course spots for auxiliary lighting, all for right around that mid to high $700 price point. Getting into our features block here with the Barricade, and there are a few things to cover, so let's get after it. First and foremost, I just personally really dig the look of the modular option. Really like the angular steel build here. I think it results in a pretty aggressive, yet not over the top approach that I think will be appealing to a lot of Silverado owners. Now, appearance aside, there is a lot of functionality going on here with the Barricade, starting with the angled ends, basically that we just talked about, right? That angle is going to deliver what is called more approach angle off-road when compared to the factory bumper, in addition to making room for a bigger set of wheels and tires, namely tires, of course, by angling up that end of the bumper, less likely to have any contact with a bigger tire. Now, this particular Barricade also kicks in an included skid plate, which will help protect some of your truck's vitals both on and off-road. Finally, on the list of features here, the modular does include LED lighting, wired up, ready to go here on the sides for you, but also you have a larger opening front and center here to work with in regards to adding more off-road lighting. In fact, you can fit either a 20 or a 30-inch light bar in that center section, or you can go with a bunch of cubes to really increase your nighttime trail visibility. Now, moving into construction, and the Barricade bumper and the skid plate will both utilize that heavy-duty, cold-formed 5/32 steel plate that will certainly be able to handle some abuse both on and off-road. Now, that steel material has been finished off in a 2-stage epoxy powder coat to keep things looking good for years to come and to prevent any corrosion on that steel itself. Now, the bumper does include some wire mesh here for the center section. If you didn't want to leave it open and use a light bar, you can totally close it off with the included mesh if you'd like. In addition to that, they also kick in a license plate bracket for owners that require a front plate. Now, the modular does not include any D-ring mounts or recovery points here, but you can still use those on your truck if needed. Finally, Barricade does kick in all of the brackets, all of the hardware, everything needed for the installation, and we'll show you that here in a little bit. Now, moving into price point, and the Barricade is going to land in that mid to high $700 ballpark, which does make this very affordable in the land of off-road bumpers, especially when you start comparing this to other options from companies like ADD or Deviate, Fab4s, and others, which can cost hundreds, if not thousands more. Last but not least, let's get into our installation as we mentioned earlier here, guys. Now, the site's gonna call this a strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here. Emphasis on the strong because yes, it is a steel bumper. It's gonna be a little bit heavy, but just leave yourself a couple of hours to complete this one from start to finish. Now, to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, ratchet, 10 and 16 millimeter wrenches, 10, 16, and 17 millimeter ratcheting wrenches, clip remover tool, diagonal cutters, plastic pry tool, an extension, 4 and 5 millimeter Allen sockets, 10, 15, 16, and 21 millimeter sockets, and a few zip ties. What's up, guys? Today we're installing a bumper on our Silverado. First, we're going to watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your factory bumper, and then we'll meet you back here for the install.
All right, so the first step in our uninstall, we are going to pull the grill out. This is not a necessity if you'd like to get to the bolts behind it, but I think it makes it a little bit easier. So let's grab our pop clip removal tool and remove all of the pop clips holding on our Rad Sport cover. And with all the pop clips removed, pull up and remove your rad support cover. Next up, we're going to remove the 4 10mm bolts holding on the top of our grille. With your 10mm socket, get these removed. Now with the bolts removed out of the top of the grille, you can grab it and pull it straight back towards you to release the rest of the clips. With the grille removed, you can see the 21mm bolt that you have to remove. Grab a 21mm socket and you may want a small extension. Go ahead and get it removed. And there's another one on the other side of the truck. Go ahead and remove that one as well. Next up, we're going to remove the bolts holding on the bumper support bar. We're going to use a 15mm socket and you may want a small extension as well as a ratchet to get this out. Repeat that on the other side. All right, so be prepared now that all of the bolts are out of your bumper. It's not held on by anything right now, so make sure it's supported. Once you have a good hand on it, go ahead and remove your bumper. Next up, we're going to remove the caps on the end of the frame rails here. There's 2 nuts on the inside, they are 21s, so grab a 21mm socket and let's get these removed. Remove the bolt plate out the other side and remove the cap off of your end of your frame rail. Repeat that on the other side. All right, now one more step before we can install our new bumper. We're gonna remove these supports because we don't need them for the new one. We wanna make sure they're out of the way. Now there's 2 15mm bolts right underneath here attached to the frame. We're gonna get those removed. Grab your 15mm socket and go ahead and get them out. All right, now we are missing one bolt on the other side here. But you want to repeat that step on your other side. Remove all of the bolts that you have and remove the support off of the truck.
So the first thing I'm going to do is come to the outer wing of our bumper. We've got these bolts here that we need to tighten down and a couple bolts that we need to install here. So I'm going to take my M10 bolts with lock washer and flat washer. I'm going to get those threaded into these holes first. And then I'm going to take a 16 and 17mm ratcheting wrench, tighten down my bolts. And then grab a 16mm socket and tighten these 2 bolts down. And then do that same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to install our grills. We've got a long one that's going to go in the center, and then 2 smaller ones for the outside. And then we're going to be taking our combo bolts and nuts. I'm going to put the bolts in facing away from the grill so you won't see them through. And then thread my nut on the other side. I'll just do that for all 10 of these. And then we're going to grab a 4mm Allen socket and a 10mm wrench and tighten all of these down. Next we have our top filler panel. This is gonna go on the inside of the bumper. And then we have our combo bolts that are gonna be going through the top of the bumper into those threads. And then take your 4mm Allen socket and tighten these down. Next, we're going to install our mounting brackets. Now we have either a P or a D stamped on here for the driver or the passenger. I'm working on the passenger. So we're going to go on the outside of the bracket, take our M10 bolt with a flat washer, put it through both, and then get another flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on the other side. And we'll just do that for all three. And then I'm just going to center up my bracket, get it nice and straight, and then tighten it down with a 16mm socket and wrench. Do the same thing on the other side. Next we can install our license plate bracket. So we're going to put our bolts through the circle holes here. Just take your Allen bolt with a flat washer and put it through. And then you've got a flat washer and a nut going on the other side. And then take a 4mm Allen socket and a 10mm wrench and tighten those down. So now before we get our bumper installed, I'm going to do our wiring. So we're going to start over at the battery. We've got a positive and a negative that we need to install onto our terminals. Now before I do anything, I'm going to come to the positive and remove our inline fuse. And we'll throw that back in at the end. And I'm just going to take a 10mm socket on the positive, remove that nut. Slide your positive onto that stud. Thread your nut back on. And then tighten it down with that same 10mm socket. I'm going to turn this to run it back behind the battery, and then that way we can tuck our relay back there. Now for our negative, it's going to be a little bit hard to get a socket on there. One thing to watch out for is the stud is going to drop down once you remove the nut. So I'm taking a plastic pry tool to just jam down there in it so that that doesn't come off. Then we're going to take a 10mm ratcheting wrench to remove that nut. You can take this piece off if you'd like to. You just got 4 bolts there. It'll make it a little bit easier, but it's definitely doable. Just make sure that you're not hitting your wrench into the positive terminal. So now I'm holding tension on that plastic pry tool so this piece doesn't drop. Drop that onto that terminal. And then you can thread your nut back on. And now you can pull that plastic pry tool out and tighten it down with 10mm ratcheting wrench. And then I'll take my relay and just tuck this back behind my battery out of the way. Next, I'm going to take the two connectors that are running down to our light strips and run that down to the floor. You got a little gap behind your airbox here where you can run it straight down, and then one of them will just run over to the other side. Trying to drop them down in that gap. And now we just have our switch that we need to run to the other side of the engine bay so we can go through the firewall. So I'm gonna run this back behind my battery underneath this bar, and then I'm just gonna zip tie it to this existing harness all the way across. So now I'm just going to take a few zip ties, tie this to that harness running across. And I'll take a pair of diagonal cutters. You can also use scissors to trim the excess. And now I'm just going to undo that twist tie. And then we're going to take this down next to the brake booster. We have a grommet. We're going to push it through, and then we'll hop inside the cabin and mount it up. So I'm just going to feed my switch down towards that grommet, push it through the grommet into the cabin, and then we'll hop inside and pull our slack. So now reach up under the dash to find your switch, pull that slack through, and then you just need to find a place to mount it up. You want to be careful not to get it in between the pedals where it's going to get caught. So I'm probably just going to go right here in between our brake and our e-brake so we don't have to worry about it getting caught. So I'm just going to peel that double-sided tape backing and stick it down. Now you can mount this wherever you'd like. This is just where I'm going to put it and make it easy. So now I've got myself a buddy to help me lift up this bumper. So our plates that we mounted are going to go on the outside of your frame rails, and then you're going to take your factory double bolt plate, put it straight through, and then we'll install our nuts on the other side. Now take a 21mm socket, straighten out your bumper, and tighten down your nuts. And that's a 21mm socket on those. Do the same thing on the other side. So now I need to take one of our wires and take that over to the driver's side. So I'm going to go above the frame rail here and run it over. And then I'm just going to grab a zip tie and zip tie it to this metal bar so it stays up and out of the way. And then cut off your excess. And then we can go under and plug our lights in. So now I'm just going to plug in the connector for my light. And then I just need to zip tie everything up out of the way. So I'm going to pull my wire around the body mount, and I'm going to use one of the two holes that we removed that support bar on our factory bumper from to zip tie this out of the way. Now I'm just going to bunch up my excess, get my zip tie, put it through one of those holes. and then cut off my excess and do the same on the other side. Next, we're going to come to the bottom of our skid plate and remove our two 15mm bolts so that we can install our skid plate mounting bracket. Take a 15mm socket and pull these out. And then we're going to take our mounting bracket and we're going to slide that in between our splash guard and the cross member. And then thread your bolts back in. Take a 15mm socket and tighten them down. So now we can grab our skid plate. We're going to take the front over our bumper and then thread in your Allen bolts with block washer and flat washer. Now we'll get our bolt started in the rear. So push your skid plate all the way forward. And then we can start threading in those bolts. I'm going to use my 5mm Allen socket to help me get my thread started. And then throw that 5mm Allen socket on an impact gun, and we can start tightening all of these bolts down. And then we'll just do that same thing on the front. Next, we can line up our clips and reinstall our grill. Now we can reinstall all the bolts at the top of the grill. And then grab your 10mm socket to tighten them all down. Now grab your rad cover and all your push clips and pop those into place. And then I'm missing one, but you'll have one right here as well. And now finally we'll come back to the battery, pop the cap off of our inline fuse, and reinstall that fuse. And tuck that back behind the battery out of the way. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Barricade Extreme HD modular front bumper with skid plate for your 2007 to 13 Silverado 1500. Thanks for watching, and for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.